Okay, part two. Um, so I left off, I went back to work, everything was good. And then last year, well, actually, I was struggling with it. Okay, so I got diagnosed like a couple years ago with severe hay fever allergies, like to grass, basically. Well, it says Timothy grass, but yeah, it's like all the cattails and all that stuff. I'm allergic to those, so I moved out to the country to be with my now husband, but was then boyfriend turned fiance, now husband. So I moved into the country, into a house with 2 cats. Bring my dog, so it was 2 cats and a dog, and my husband at the time was a chain smoker. So my allergies were really bad. Or so I thought. So kind of like I would get this cough seasonally. And then eventually the cough kind of came and never left. And then it just got really, really, really bad. And then I was just coughing my head off all the time. And the doctors just gave me like all kinds of inhalers and stuff because they attributed it to allergies, much like I did. And some of it would suppress it, like it would help, but I would still have kind of a constant tickle in my throat and stuff. And I just kind of, we got ourselves like an air purifier. And my husband quit smoking in the house. Like everything was, I thought it was maybe getting a little better. And then just last year, like the beginning of the year, we decided to start doing some house renovations. And I still have allergies and stuff that drains down the back of my throat, which is why I clear my throat a lot. Because I still have I do have allergies and stuff that drains down the back of my throat and stuff that, I do still have that, but it's mild compared to what I thought was going on. My dog is harassing me. So we were doing renovations, and my voice was slowly getting worse. Like I started, like my voice would kind of like sneak out, like it would be weak or something, or kind of shaky, and I thought, well, it's the renovations, I got whatever. And by the end of March, all of a sudden I like lost my voice completely. Like it sounded like I had laryngitis. It still is like that. Like if I look to it's better actually. That's good. That means chemo's working. Yeah, it was like the end of March and my voice finally just went out. And I didn't have any volume. I couldn't talk across the room. It just went out. And again, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, allergies, whatever. I've been coughing so much. Maybe it irritated my throat. Maybe I just have to rest it. I went to I had phone in. By this time, the pandemic had hit too. So I was like working from home. And I was working from home and nobody would see me. Like you had to phone in. And if you went to the emergency room, like it was like nobody wanted to take the mask down and look down your throat. Oh, God forbid. So they just kept saying, well, rest your voice. Here's allergy stuff for this. Here's an inhaler for that. Like allergies, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they stopped talking to me and they wouldn't see me. They're like, well, because I lost my voice, they just assumed COVID. So like, well, we're not gonna, go get tested and then we'll talk to you. And I'm like, I know it's not COVID because I hadn't been anywhere but my home. And it had been going on for, by this time, like 3 months. I'm like, if this is COVID, I'd be dead by now. So I phoned in my own doctor. Oh yeah, and to make matters even worse, like my actual doctor quit practicing, but didn't refer her patients to anybody. She just quit practicing and left us to fend for ourselves. So I had no actual doctor, like no family doctor. So I finally I was phoning everywhere for somebody to just even do a phone call appointment. So I finally got a hold of a doctor in Esterhazy. And the first time he just gave me antibiotics because he thought maybe because I had like, my throat was really red, but it was probably because I was straining to talk so much and clearing my throat all the time, whatever. But anyway, he gave me, I like, just from what I was telling him, no, he never did see me, but he gave me like stronger antihistamines and antibiotics and whatever, and of course none of that helped. And he's like, if it still doesn't come back, phone me back and we'll see. Maybe we'll send you to a specialist. So of course it was like a month later. So by this time I had had no voice for like 4 months, 4 or 5 months, yeah, into August, 5 months. And I had noticed that like my voice was like, it's still weak and kind of, it's way better than it was. But like it would like completely go out when I looked to the left. It's like harder to talk when I look to the left. Like it's better now, like you can actually hear me. But before, when I tried to like talk, if I looked this way, my voice was almost normal. And if I looked to the left, my voice would just go out and I like wouldn't have one. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird, like that's not really, I've had laryngitis before. I was like, that's not normal, right? Like that's weird. So I finally convinced the doctor in Esterhazy to, I think a bird just hit my window, scared the hell out of me. I'm probably gonna find a dead bird on my deck. Anyway, so I finally convinced him to send me to a specialist in Regina. And it was like a throat surgeon guy, actually. And he went and he took this thing and went up my nose. It's like a camera. And I'm wearing a mask, but I had to like pull it down below your nose, like, because why take the mask off, right? Because pulling below your nose is going to be... So whatever, he went, and I have the most powerful gag reflex, like, and I mentioned this to them. I did warn them. I promise I warned them. So they stick this thing that goes up and around and in behind. And he didn't get anything because I just vomited and into my mask, took all over the floor, like all over him. And he's just like thinking he's gonna now die from whatever I'm gonna give him because the mask came off. And like, okay, so everybody's exposed. It's just me and the doctor, and the one nurse comes in so she can clean things up. I swear to God, after all of that, like if I had anything, he would have had it. After all of that, he tells me to put my mask back on. The one that I vomited in. Put it back on. Like, what good is it gonna do now? So I had to put it back on. Then he's like, okay, well, maybe we're gonna numb the back of your throat. I was like, good idea. Noted. Very good idea. So then I take my mask down again. He sprays this stuff in the back of my throat to let it numb. Then I put the mask on up to here. And then he tries and does it again. And I'm still kind of, but I didn't actually vomit this time. So he was, get down. So he was in there, get down. So he was in there enough that he got what he needed anyway. So I was like, so he pulls it back out. And he's like, okay, well, I have some good news and I have some bad news. And I said, well, okay. So he said, the good news is, like, I know what's wrong with your voice. The bad news is you have a paralyzed left vocal cord. And I said, oh, okay, not thinking anything. And he said, we're not worried about your voice. Don't worry about your voice at all. We can probably get that back. But we really need to be worried about what's causing it. And right then, that's when I think the terrifying, overwhelming fear kicked in. Because it's really never a good thing when a doctor tells you that you should be worried. So he scheduled me to go for a chest CT. And I mentioned to him that I had radiation on this side. And he said, maybe that could be it, maybe. But being that that was like 5 years ago, it probably would have happened by now. So we want to make sure there's nothing sinister happening, you know? So I think it was like the next week, I went for a CT. And you know, it's never good when they rush the results. And I had a feeling as soon as he said that, my stress level went through the roof. And I was basically from September, like the middle of September until, well, I was still a bundle of nerves sometimes, but like it was like steady. So I went on like a Monday and I got the CT. Right after the CT, first of all, I was in there longer than I should have been because I've had them before. I know how long they take. And then I was like, And then as soon as I came out, they're like, your doctor's going to have the results tomorrow. And I was like, right away, this sinking, because that's like, you know, that's not good. And then the next day while I was at work, I got a phone call saying he wants to talk to you about your results like ASAP. When can you come in? And I said, I might as well just get it over with. I'll come in tomorrow, which was the Wednesday, which was my birthday. Guys, I've got cat. I've got a cat with burrs and a dog that's trying to attack the cat. And I'm trying to have my coffee, which it's just chaos in here. Anyway, down. So yeah, I knew, go. Driving in, like I had to drive to Regina, and I was praying the entire time. And doctor calls me into the little room, and before he even gets into the room, before he even sits down, he says, as he's walking in, he's got the CT results paper in his hand. He's like, yeah, you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on in your chest. And I think I was stunned. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you've got your chest is full. Like you got all kinds of stuff going on in your chest. And I just felt sick, instantly sick to my stomach. And I just didn't even know what to think. And he said, you can cry. And I didn't feel like crying. Like I think I was still in shock, but I sort of like fake cried because I felt like that's what he was expecting me to do, was to cry. And if I didn't, it would be weird. So I've kind of fake cried. I was like, oh, because I didn't know what to do or how to feel. I was just, you know, stunned. I was just, and so he tells me that there's, like, my lungs have got just tumors all through. This is why I didn't want to make this video. And I had one on this side that's like 3 centimeters. And then one on this side that's like 2.9. But because of where your vocal nerve goes, somehow it runs down through here, and I have a cluster sitting on the apex of this lung that is pressing against the vocal nerve. So it's not the nerve isn't invaded. So my voice could come back eventually, completely. It's back, it's really good now, but eventually it could come back. But he said, you have this cluster and it's pressing against it, and that's what's making your voice do what it's doing. So more in part 3.